Welcome to the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 258, Imavov vs. Bukauskas, also known as UFC Paris. I'm your host, Ben Duffy of Sherdog.com, and back with me, I would say as usual, but it feels like it's been a month, it is Keith Schillen, the executive producer of the Sherdog Radio Network. Keith, how you doing?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm doing A-okay. I have a little inside knowledge because we talked for a minute before we started recording.
Okay.
Even if we hadn't, I would say you look like you need a vacation from your vacation. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. So hold on a second. You're saying it's been a while. You said like usual, and then you said I'm back. No. I have been back. I did UFC Shanghai, and it was Ben Duffy that was there. And hold on a second. I don't know if you caught the pay-per-view, the Chimaev Duplessis pay-per-view. The roads I had to travel to get home to do the recap show. I was in Texas as the pay-per-view started and finished in my house and all details in between. But I wanna address something. So it's been honestly, what was that, UFC 312?
319 is the one.
Oh my God, I'm so far off. Okay, 319. I don't even know what the numbers are. 319, UFC 319. The preview was the last time we did a show, but that is not the last time we've talked. Me and Ben actually finally met each other in person in Texas, and I want to pull back the curtain because we're always really honest with our listeners. The reason why we haven't done a show together, we had to recover. It did not go well.
No.
And let me tell you, Ben comes off like this nice guy. That's all a show. You couldn't believe how rude first of all, he called me fat. He called my wife ugly, and he called her a bitch. He called my kids little snobby brats. That's what happened. But now we're getting over it, and we're gonna try to bring back. We're gonna be TV friendly for the rest of for our listeners.
In my defense, when I said ugly bitch, I thought that was literally your dog. Like, I'm just kidding. Keith's wife is, I mean, we already knew that Keith's wife was a saint just to deal with Keith, but she's an absolutely lovely woman. His family's amazing, and we had a real good time at NASA. It was good to finally, I mean, I wouldn't say put a face, because again, I spend 6 hours a week looking at this guy's face. But it was good to finally meet up in person. It really was. Cool. It was cool, man.
It was funny. My family was like, "Dude, you seem like you're nervous to meet him." And I was like, "I kind of am. Like, I've talked to this guy for freaking 5 years, but I kind of was." And then I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about? I talk to this guy for freaking 5 hours a week. Like, I can meet him in person." But yeah, my family loved you. My aunt and uncle were there also. They loved you. So it was super cool to realize that Ben is not like an AI figure, that he really is real. Since then, I've gone camping during this Labor Day weekend. I also I went to Leonard Skinner concert Friday night with my oldest daughter, which was cool. And I'll tell you why. I know you're a fan of the good music that I am. Also, I've seen Leonard Skinner in concert God knows how many times, like a gazillion times. And I've gone in big groups outside arenas with the tailgate and 12 of us. I've seen like good opening acts, ZZ Top, Bad Company, Poison.
I saw him with ZZ Top. I wonder if it was the same year. Like
probably the same tour. Yeah. Like Kid Rock, I seen him a bunch of them. This was my favorite one because all the things that I got to experience, I got to watch my daughter experience for the first time. And it was at Mohegan Sun. It was not, it's not the outdoor. It's not, obviously there's not a single member left, but it's cool when Johnny at the end, I know you've seen him, but like when they sing Freebird at the end, obviously my daughter's screaming Freebird, they're like, "Oh, we're all done. See you later. Thanks," after they sing Sweet Home Alabama. But they come back out, they sing Freebird, and her favorite part was when I always mix up the two brothers. Johnny Van Zant, who's the one who's alive, right?
Yes.
And Ronnie's the one who died.
Yes.
Takes his brother's hat and he puts it on the mic, and then there's like two verses. He sings the first verse, and the last verse is his brother, a video of his brother singing it.
Yep.
So like seeing her, like I've seen this happen a million times. I've seen her experience all this stuff, and it was just cool. It was a really good time.
And for those that want to make the Van Zant family tree really confusing, they have a third brother, Donnie, who's the singer for 38 Special.
Yeah, and I've seen 38 Special open up for him too.
I'm impressed that all these Southern acts make it as far up as Rhode Island. They must do it in the summer. Like they,
Yeah.
yeah. Normally when Keith and I get onto this kind of sidetrack before we even talk about the first fight, it's because we're about to talk about a terrible card and we're trying to put it off as long as possible. I'm going to jump out and say that this one isn't that bad. We lost maybe the second best fight on the whole card when Fares Zayam pulled out of his fight with Cowboy Fernandez with, I guess he had a death in his immediate family. I don't know any details, but obviously, our best wishes are with him. But even without that, it has a main event that's could completely be a title eliminator. I think that's the most you can ask for in terms of divisional relevance. It's got a couple of obvious bangers, Benoit Saint-Denis versus Mauricio Hufi. It has a couple of mildly interesting debuting fighters. And most importantly, they stuck every French fighter they could find on it. Like if you're going to go on the road, give the fans something to come out for so that the place blows up. And they've got a bunch of French fighters on the card. And I don't want to tip the hand too much in terms of whether they're favorites or underdogs, but they're not sending any of them out to get killed, which is nice. The French fans might have some things to be happy about at the end of the night. I kind of hope they're sad because I'm the guy that was here in Houston when Ciryl Gane destroyed Derek Lewis and you could hear a pin drop in the Toyota Center. Yeah. But the other fight we lost that was mildly interesting, Yunesi Dubin was supposed to fight the debuting Kennedy Freeman. That would be the daughter of UFC veteran Ian Freeman. Dubin's out. I don't think they're going to find another opponent for Freeman. All I know is I saw Bella Mir fight down here in Houston a couple weeks ago. We could have Mir versus Freeman 2 in the UFC in a year or two. I need that.
That'd be huge. Bella's badass. She's pretty good. Yes. As far as this card, I'm with you, man. I had it as an A until the Zayam fight fell out because that was actually one of the best fights on the card. So for a fight night, I go like a B plus. Like I think
I would say so too. Yeah, I completely agree. This, and again, the Zayam fight, that's a big loss. But if the UFC is putting together cards that are not completely destroyed by the loss of one good fight, that's a good sign in and of itself. And with or without that fight, I think this is kind of the standard of what a UFC's road fight night card should look like. So good stuff. Pick one fight for me other than the main event. Actually, other than the main and co-main, to put in shrink wrap and make sure it makes it into the octagon on Saturday.
All right, so there's two that really are jumping out to me. One, and I didn't guess this before he came to the UFC, but he has absolutely won me over. I'm gonna go get Gustafsson, Fakhretdinov. I am Gustafsson's made me a believer, and I didn't believe before. And yeah, that's the one I'd go with. That was the one that I was looking at for sure.
I'm with you on that. Aside from that, the other fights I'm most excited for, it's mostly one fighter I'm excited for. I'm glad the UFC has Losene Keita. He's, Patricio Pitbull still getting no breaks whatsoever. I'm interested to see what Keita can do in the UFC. I'm interested to see William Gomis fight again.
What a weird matchup that is, though. Like, Pitbull just beat Dan Ige, gets his first UFC win. Now he's going to enemy territory, take on this super hard prospect. What does that do for Pitbull? Like, I don't get why he took that fight.
Me either. And
anyways,
well, let's just talk about it when we get to it, because I have a few theories, but they're all just theories. We do have 13 fights to talk about. Any other general thoughts on this card before we jump in?
No, it's good. Let's do it.
All right. First up at UFC Paris is a strawweight matchup between Shauna Bannon and Sam Hughes. Bannon, the 31-year-old Irish woman, is 7-1 overall. She's 2-1 since joining the UFC out of Invicta. She dropped her UFC debut at this point 2 years ago to Bruna, Brazil. Since then, she has back-to-back wins over Alice Ardeleon and Pooja Tomar. The most recent of those, the Tomar fight, was back in March at UFC Fight Night Edwards versus Brady. That was UFC London, and she armbarred Tomar in the second round. So she's looking for her third straight win in the octagon. In order to get it, she will need to get past Hughes. 33-year-old Iowan is 10-6 overall. She's an even 5-5 since joining the UFC out of LFA, but 5-5 doesn't really tell the full story because she lost her first 3 fights right out of the gate in the UFC. And since then, She's 5-2, and she has won her last 2 in a row, including her most recent outing back in March against Stephanie Luciano. That was at UFC Fight Night, Vettori versus Delija, and she won a split decision. So she is also looking for her 3rd straight win in the UFC, and she is comfortably favored to get it. I won't even bother quizzing you on this one, as Hughes is -310, Bannon +250.
Sam Hughes is -310 in a UFC fight against a fighter who's won 2 in a row.
Against someone who's won 2 in a row, and on some level, I understand it a little bit.
Sure.
It's cool that Bannon has 2 wins in the UFC. Like, I made fun and had some laughs at her expense when she joined the UFC. Just her profile photo in the Sherdog Fight Finder, she looks like a rotisserie chicken. She wasn't that impressive to me in Invicta, and especially as someone who comes from a karate background and definitely presents as a kickboxer, just see it or kind of get styled on by Bruna Brazil. I was like, well, she's not going to last, but she's at least good enough to sweep out the Alice Ardeleons and Puja Tomars from the UFC. I'm here for it. And none of her skills are really different than they were 2 years ago. She's more confident. She's more comfortable in the cage, and she's getting matched up down to a more appropriate level of competition. But Hughes ain't it. Like, Hughes is, unlike Bannon, Hughes is just flat out better than I thought she was. And I think she's improved since she's been in the UFC. She's one of those classic cases of, whatever we may say about the UFC's pay scale and their booking practices and everything, there is a definite step up when fighters from regional orgs join the UFC, start making, the 12K a fight, and generally speaking are able to start training full time. She's physically stronger. She looks better. Her skills are sharper, especially on the feet. Like, I thought her striking was super, super ugly when she got to the UFC. It's become at least functional. And I just don't think there's much here for Bannon outside of Hughes making a bad mistake or getting super tired and getting caught on the ground. And I don't think either of those things is going to happen. I think Bannon's probably going to try to fight on the feet against Hughes. I don't think Hughes is going to let her have it. Hughes is pretty good at just coming forward, pressing the issue. I think she's going to put Bannon on her back foot. I think she'll be able to force clinch exchanges against the fence where she can kind of beat her up, maybe drag her down onto the ground. Bannon's nifty armbar on Puja Tomar aside, I still think Hughes has a better ground game than Bannon. I think she's physically stronger. I think this thing sees the final horn, but I think Hughes probably just wins all 3 rounds and makes it look kind of routine. I think it's probably going to kind of look like a women's strawweight fight where one person was a 3-1 favorite.
Sorry about that. I had all these pop-ups on my screen, and I just put them down. I couldn't find the screen where this was. I had to like remind myself that Bannon is from Ireland, because I was sitting there, I'm like, what a weird fight to have a girl from Washington fighting a girl from New Jersey in in France. And then I'm like, oh wait, she's from Ireland.
With that crispy blonde hair and the super deep tan, it's totally some Jersey Shore shit. Yep.
Yeah, like just
And then Sam Hughes has that like Sarah Kaufman tan. She's from somewhere up north, but no, she's from Iowa. So yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of baiting that line. I didn't expect it to be that big. I had a feeling that Hughes would. I was guessing more like 2-1, and I felt pretty comfortable taking her. So obviously I already gave you who I'm going to pick, but that's what we got. I mean, Hughes has always been this boxer, some good footwork, cuts angles really well, set up her shots, high output on the feet, quick hands, works by a nice crisp jab. Your basic, follow-up cross. She's been adding kicks a lot more into her game, and she's been mixing them with her punching combination, which I like. She's a builder that kind of increases her volume as the fight goes along. Before she was kind of this this one-dimensional fighter, but she's really turned into I wouldn't call her a wrestler, but she's a sneaky takedown artist now. Usually, close distance, working the clinch, get takedowns. She got takedowns against Felice Reed, Estela Nunes. She still needs to improve her defensive wrestling. I think that's something that she hasn't focused on. I go back to like the Pierre Rodriguez took her down, Loma Labumi took her down. But she is on top. I like her top control. If she's taken down, she works back to her feet. She has 3 submission wins on the record, and she has this winning streak. Bannon, she has this Taekwondo fighter. She fights out of both stances. She doesn't move as much as your traditional Taekwondo style fighter. She's more stands right in front. Her striking is it's nothing special. Like her boxing, she lacks power because she throws a lot of arm punches. She always overextends on her shots, almost jumps at her opponents instead of keeping her base underneath her. She will attack with the same combination over and over again. As far as punching, she does have good kicks though. That's mostly her striking. It's a big kicking game. She loves like body kicks from the southpaw stance. She has a good high kick. She likes to lead with kicks and then follow with punches, which is something unique, which I like. She will close the distance or work in the clinch and look for some trips. If she gets on top, she has some busy ground and pound. She's a weak defensive wrestler. It was nice to see her get a submission in her last fight. I still wouldn't consider her a submission artist, but she does have good cardio. So, like I said, I'm with you. I like Hughes here. Bannon has a big kicking advantage, and I think she's probably the better overall athlete. Like a Despons. Yeah, a Despons is probably a better athlete than Sam Hughes, but I still expect Hughes to press the action, land the cleanest punches, work in the clinch, grind in the clinch. An area that Bannon feels comfortable. She won't feel comfortable against Hughes. I think she grinds. I think she gets some takedowns. Give me Hughes by decision.
Welterweights take the cage next at UFC Paris as Andreas Gustafsson squares off against Rinat Fakhretdinov. Gustafsson, the 34-year-old Swede, is 12-2 overall. He is 1-0 since joining the UFC as a veteran of Brave CF, KSW, and most importantly, in this case, Dana White's Contender Series. He fought on the Contender Series almost exactly a year ago, got a knockout, debuted in the UFC back in June at UFC 316, where he won a unanimous decision over Chaos Williams. So he's looking to build on the momentum of that successful debut, and he will need to get past Fakhretdinov in order to do so. Fakhretdinov, 33-year-old Russian, 23-1-1 overall, 5-0-1 since joining the UFC, also out of Brave CF. He has yet to suffer a single loss in the octagon up to this point, and he has 2 straight wins since his majority draw against Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos about 18 months ago. He fought most recently last October at UFC 308, where he won a unanimous decision over Carlos Leal Miranda. So he's looking for his 3rd straight win, his 7th straight fight in the UFC without a defeat. The line is razor close on this one. Your favorite is -115. Underdog, even money, plus 100. Who are they?
Fakhretdinov's favorite?
It's actually Gustafsson. This one's super, super close, but there are a couple books where Fakhretdinov is plus money. There are none where Gustafsson is, so he's actually the slight favorite. You mentioned right off the top that you are coming around on Andreas Gustafsson. Do you think he has enough to get it done here?
Yeah. Yeah. The first time I'm saying, like, why is this fight so low on the card? Like, this probably should be, I don't know, 4th from the top. I mean, I'd still probably put Pitbull based on, his history above it.
It's better than Bukauskas versus Craig.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah. Can we just like preview that fight right now and just get it over with?
Like, just you kidding? I'm going to give that one a 16-minute luxury ride.
and then don't tell the listeners that someone is really into the Paul Craig fight. They have to like just search for it. If you're into really Paul Craig fights, you should have to search 3 hours to find it.
Make it like a Where's Waldo. That's awesome.
Yeah, with Paul Craig. Yeah, I mean, he's got a tough matchup. In Fakhretdinov, I mean, he's a really good fighter. He's an action fighter. He's nonstop pressuring. He loves to slide in the pocket. He lands big shots. He throws really hard looping power shots. He swings wild and sometimes he'll overthrow his shots. But if he connects, he can knock you out. He's got a great check left hook. It's probably his best strike. He does good body work. I mean, he hurt Zaleski dos Santos with body shots in their fight. He hits super hard. I mean, he's got 11 KOs. He was dropping Nicholas Dalby, which is a good sign. He gets a lot. Yeah, he lands a lot of strikes because of his threat of his wrestling. He's a good wrestler, and when he looks to wrestle, he's tough to stop. He has a good mindset to get the takedowns. Even when he misses, he'll just keep wrestling. We saw this against Dalby. He's got 6 submission wins. I mean, he subbed Kevin Lee wicked fast, and his cardio held up against Dalby, which is a bit of an accomplishment. Obviously he slowed down anybody who fights Nicholas Dalby is going to slow down, but I mean, like, he didn't completely gas out like you expect so many of Nick Dalby's, opponents, especially. I mean, I know it was a super close split decision, but then against Carlos Leal, his cardio looked better too. So I feel pretty good about his cardio, which I wasn't sure because of his style. Now Gustafsson, I mean, he's a really big guy for the weight class. I mean, you talk about gassing out, it's like Dalby times two. I mean, he's on the output, on the gas, insane output. He fights very strategically. He knows that his pressure breaks guy. And I want to say he literally never steps back, but everyone uses the word literally wrong, but it might be true in the case with Gustafsson. He throws a lot of hard strikes. He has 8 TKOs. A lot of those are cumulative, but he does load up with every punch. He eats a lot of shots, and he's been rocked a lot. That's because he doesn't move his head. But all this stuff, he's moving forward because he's trying to close the distance. He's trying to get to that clinch. He has this Greco-Roman background where I think they say he was Greco-Roman wrestler for like 20 years. I loved in his last fight, he just was draping himself over his opponent, just having them carry his weight and tire him out. Like he's not doing anything, and they're like carrying, probably 100 pounds of his weight leaning on him. He's a very good clinch striker, nice knees, nice elbows inside. When he's not striking, he's looking for clinch takedowns, and his cardio is off the charts. So I like both these guys a lot. I had a really hard time picking them. I'm glad that the line is super close. Fakhretdinov has all the skills to be special. If you said to me who's going to be a UFC champion, I would go with Fakhretdinov. If I knew nothing about MMA, I'd feel comfortable taking Fakhretdinov because when you look at what they do, just watching their skill sets, Fakhretdinov is the one who jumps out to you. But when you look at 2025 or really the last 5 years or so and seeing what has really turned in and it's a lot of it's pressure, that's what Gustafsson does well. I mean, he's just built different. He has this incredible mindset. So I keep flipping back and forth, and I'm like, do I go skill? Do I go like intangibles? I'm not feeling good about my pick. I think Gustafsson's going to pressure. I think that pressure is going to walk into some big shots from Fakhretdinov, maybe some takedowns, especially early. I think Fakhretdinov will have a hard time holding Gustafsson down. I think he wins the first round. I think Gustafsson comes on hard in the third. It comes down to, like, does Fakhretdinov have enough to get the second round? I'm going to say he does, and he has to hold off a surge from Gustafsson where it gets scary. But I could even see a draw in this one. But give me Fakhretdinov. I'll say super close. Give me Fakhretdinov by split decision.
I'm gratified to see that you see this fight so similarly to the way I do, because when I first heard this fight announced, and then then I started thinking harder about it, within the last couple of weeks, I expected to come down heavily on the side of Fakhretdinov. I was like, he's arguably more skilled everywhere. He's more experienced despite actually being the younger guy in terms of age. I expected to pick Fakhretdinov hard. And then as I actually started watching both of their last few fights and thinking about the fights likely to play out, kind of like you, I'm like, this fight feels much closer than maybe it should in terms of raw skill. And it feels like exactly the kind of fight where Gustafsson could just jump up and kind of do his thing. But I'm seeing it really similarly to the way you do. And you mentioned the Dalby fight for Fakhretdinov. I think of that one, and I also actually think of the Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos fight, because the only reason that fight was a majority draw is because Fakhretdinov was firmly in the driver's seat, and then Eliseu Capoeira turned on the jets in the third round, whooped Fakhretdinov's ass, and got a 10-8 round on 2 of the judges' scorecards. That's why it ended up being a majority draw. But the thing is, as bad as he was putting it on Fakhretdinov, and he was whooping him on the feet, he almost tapped him out a couple times. Fakhretdinov, like, he never quit. He never looked for the way out. Like, the wheels never fell completely off, because otherwise, I mean, a lot of UFC welterweights probably would have gotten finished in that situation. Like, Easy dos Santos is a mean dude. That kind of is the last thing that makes me lean in the direction of your pick, where I think Fakhretdinov does hold on and pull this one out. But this is an absolute banger of a fight. Like you, I was surprised that it's this low on the card. And there's every possibility that that changes between now and fight night. I just kind of try to go with what the UFC itself has announced, allowing for whatever changes have been made in the lineup. But as of right now, this is the second fight on the card, and it is a fantastic one. I also have Fakhretdinov by decision. Next up at UFC Paris, we head to the middleweight division for a matchup between the ageless veteran Brad Tavares and relative newcomer Robert Bryczek. Tavares, the 37-year-old Hawaiian by way of Las Vegas, is 21-10 overall. He is 16-10 since joining the UFC over 15 years ago at this point as a cast member from the 11th season of The Ultimate Fighter. For those keeping track at home, I think we're on season 33 or 34 right now. Brad Tavares has been in the UFC for a long ass time. He, of course, has been a just reliable mid-card action fighter and occasional fringe contender for much of that time, but has run into a bit of a tougher stretch of late. He's lost 4 of his last 6 fights, but he is coming in off a win. He's already fought once this year. It was back in April at UFC on ESPN, Emmett versus Murphy, where he won a unanimous decision over Gerald Meerschaert. That snapped a 2-fight losing streak for him against Junyong Park and Gregory Rodriguez. He will look to make it 2 in a row, pick up his first win streak in the octagon in over 4 years at the expense of Bryczek, who is still looking for his first win in the UFC. 35-year-old from Poland is 17-6 overall. He's 0-1 since joining the UFC last year out of Octagon MMA and several other European promotions. He debuted against Ior Bateria at UFC Fight Night Hermanton versus Pfeiffer last February, coming out on the wrong end of a unanimous decision. He's been on the shelf ever since. He steps back in the cage here and is unsurprisingly the underdog. Tavares is minus 220, Bryczek plus 190. Brad Tavares, he's been in the UFC since he was 22 years old. He was 21 in the Tough House. He's just one of those super, super young cats. It seemed like he was never going to get old. 1, because he's kind of like a baby-faced dude. And 2, just because he kind of putted along. Until about 2 years ago, he had been the UFC's de facto gatekeeper to the middleweight top 8 or so for a full decade. Like there's something to be said for that. Like he's made a great living for himself and his family out of it. He's got other ventures going on. If and when he steps into the sunset within the next couple of years, hopefully he's well taken care of and we don't see him boxing YouTubers, later. But things are starting to slow down, and they're the obvious things that were always going to be a little bit of a problem for Brad Tavares. Yes, his hands have slowed down a little bit. Yes, his once underused wrestling and ground game, it's only become spottier. But most important to me is he used to be reliably super durable. That started to slip. And so much of his game has just been built off of giving one and taking one in the pocket that once that was gone, hard-hitting fighters really started to give him trouble. Just people like, Bruno Silva. Like, hell, Bruno Silva iced Brad Tavares. That's probably Silva's best win in his entire UFC run. And punching hard is almost the only thing he does well. Gregory Rodriguez, obviously, as well. Just guys are clipping Brad Tavares, and he's now getting rocked every time. It's now possible to follow up on him and get him out of there. Having said that, Bryczek as his opponent, it's one of those ones where Tavares would have to commit a huge defensive lapse, make a big mistake, or just have aged in an accelerated manner since the last time we saw him. Because Bryczek still, to me, just presents as kind of a raw brawler. He throws hard, but being built like he is at 185 pounds, he should hit hard. But, I mean, all the defensive lapses you could imagine, doesn't throw in combination as well as he should. Just a guy that's clearly kind of been used to being able to wing power shots on overmatched fighters in Central Europe and put them away. I don't know if I shared this ahead of his UFC debut, but I was the admin of the Sherdog Fight Finder database for a year, and then Jay Petrie took it over for me, but I've remained involved with it ever since. And fighters from, different regions will send us photos for their for their Sherdog profile. If they don't have one, if they have just a little default silhouette, they'll send us a photo and say, or their manager will send us a photo. And usually these fighters or their representatives, they read the assignment. They look at the fight finder and they're like, okay, 99% of these photos are shirtless photos from the waist up, or in sports bra top for women, usually like right before a fight. Like we want them not in street clothes and not all cut up and beat up. He sent us our choice of 2 photos, but they were both of him standing shirtless and flexing in a waterfall. They looked like they were for a dating site. I won't get myself in any further trouble by saying what kind of dating site, but they were some of the funniest pictures we've ever been sent in such an unintentional manner. Bless his heart. I think Brad Tavares probably wins a pretty easy decision here. But the thing is, Tavares is still good enough at the stuff he does well that if Bryczek's not up to stuff, I could see Tavares knocking him out late just through an accumulation of damage. And in fact, that's what I'm going to go for here. Tavares is a smart guy. He seems like a smart guy outside of the cage. For a quote unquote action fighter, he's always been a pretty smart fighter inside the cage. I think Tavares can see there aren't going to be many more matchups for me from here on out where I'm at this clear an advantage in my own wheelhouse. I think Tavares kind of turns up the jets and puts Bryczek away with the TKO in the 3rd round after winning the first 2. Give me Tavares by 3rd round knockout.
Wow. Man, Bryczek's waterfall photos. When I sent mine in, I messed up the assignment too. You said shirtless, and I sent in pantless.
Yeah, that like if you ever look at Keith Schillen's photo in the Fight Finder, the reason it's cropped down so small to him just destroying Mr. Irons, it's because he had no pants on, and we were getting dinged by Google.
Yeah,
New England regional MMA never changed.
If you wanted to crop it out, you wouldn't have to crop that much either. All right, let's get into this fight. Like I said, this card is today, and it's not that I want to disrespect these guys like Brad Tavares. I'm sick of breaking down Brad Tavares fights and watching them. I'm like, I just wish the UFC would stop carrying these older mid-level guys that have zero chance of making a run or he's not this exciting fighter or anything like that. Just why is he still in the roster? But I mean, he's a boxer. He's technical. He sets up his shots well with feints. He throws your basic 1-2s. Pretty good at slipping and countering, but he's not as fast as he used to be. So that's a little bit of an issue. He was never a much of a power puncher. He is good outside, though he will throw it out in the pocket at times, which is a big mistake at this point because defensively he backs straight up. He's been playing his back against the fence a lot, which was not a good thing. We saw that against Dracus Duplessis. And honestly, his chin he's been hurt a lot. I'm worried about that one day it's just going to completely be gone. He's still got a good kicking game, a lot of kicks to the body, hard calf kicks. I'd say he's an underrated wrestler, though he really hardly ever looks for takedowns. He does have good takedown defense. Your traditional Jose Aldo type sprawl and brawl type fighter, underrated grappling altogether. But again, I mean, he's been knocked out recently, and I'm worried the chin just might be completely going. Now, Bryczek, he's this high output striker. He sets up his shots well with feints. He's got a nice overhand, I should say overhand left. Excuse me, no, I'm sorry. Like a left hook, but then he throws an overhand right. He throws hard. He does have good power. He's got 11 TKOs, but he's very wild. Very, very wild. Not very technical. He completely abandoned his kicks against Ier Pretoria. He is heavy on his front foot, so he's open to leg kicks. Not much of an offensive wrestler, but if he does get to the fight to the ground, he does have some decent ground and pound. To me, I kind of view this fight similar in the sense, not in the outcome of how Tavares gets a knockout or gets a stoppage, but more of this is basically a measurement of is Brad Tavares completely shot or not? Because skill-wise, technical-wise, if Tavares is anywhere close to not even prime, but Brad Tavares from 3 years ago, he wins this fight. I'm leaning towards that he isn't completely terrible. And I say he kicks Bryczek a lot and he wins a low output decision, kind of a snoozer type fight where Bryczek's swinging and missing a lot and Tavares just moving, jab, body kick. Maybe looks a lot like the Weidman fight. Give me Tavares by decision.
Up next at UFC Paris is, I think, probably the biggest fight the UFC could make at welterweight right now, as it is 6'4" Sam Patterson against 6'5" Trey Waters. Patterson, the 29-year-old Englishman, 13-2-1 overall, 3-1 in the UFC, but worth noting that he's 3-1 in the UFC, 3-0 at welterweight, because as bizarre as he sometimes looks as a 6'4" welterweight, he fought primarily at 155 pounds in his regional career and in his UFC debut against Yanal Ashmos. Ashmos knocked him silly in the first round. That was 2.5 years ago. Since then, he has 3 straight wins at 170, the most recent of which against Danny Barlow was back in March at UFC Fight Night, Kopp versus Almabayev. It was Patterson's 3rd straight first-round finish after losing his UFC debut. He has become, rather than a curiosity, an actual person of mild interest, but he's going to have to get past Waters to keep the good vibes going. Waters, 30-year-old, Floridian, 9-1 overall, 2-0 since joining the UFC as a veteran of Season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought on the Contender Series back almost exactly 3 years ago. He got tapped out by Gabriel Bonfim in the first round. That is still Waters' only professional loss. He got signed to the UFC back in 2023. He's 2-0 since then. That's the good news. The bad news, he's been fighting once a year. His most recent outing was back in May of last year against Billy Goff. He won a unanimous decision at UFC on ESPN, Lewis versus Nascimento. So he's looking for his 3rd straight win. Patterson looking for his 4th straight. Patterson is favored to get it done. He is minus 170, Waters plus 140. I won't insult your intelligence or our viewers' intelligence, Keith, by asking you whether you think Sam Patterson is a future champ at 170, but
yeah, Madalena better watch out. Here he comes.
Well, or Makachev, depending.
Makachev,
see what happens. But does he get it done here? Does he have some staying power?
I think both guys kind of have staying power. I mean, Paul Crick's still on the roster, so what does that tell you? So, yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, both guys are obviously monsters. Patterson 6'4", obviously long and lanky. He's not a good athlete. He's flat-footed. He's plodding. I mean, let's be honest. If he was a good athlete and he was 6'4", he'd probably be, I don't know, playing. I mean, what's a tall sport for English people? Badminton or something? I don't know. Are British people good at sports? I mean, what's their main sport? I don't know, but whatever. What the Brits do. On the feet, he sets up shots well with feints. He's got a long jab. He throws a lot of double jabs. Throws straight shots, especially his straight right. He will throw some lead upcuts, which is dangerous. But he showed he's got that tall man's power. We saw that against Danny Barlow. The issue with him, and this is a major issue, is he has big defensive issues. He keeps his chin high in the air. He pulls his head straight back instead of going side to side. He'll throw some naked leg kicks. You do have to question his durability. I mean, go back to the Ashmus fight. Ashmus knocked him dead. He will close a distance, a battle and clinch. He's surprisingly an underrated wrestler. If he gets to the fight to the ground, he is a good grappler, good top control. He is a bad defensive wrestler. He is a submission threat. He has 7 subs on his record. Waters also a massive welterweight. He's 6'5". He's a bit of a low output striker. He likes to counter strike, likes to slip and rip. He has fairly fast hands. He has some really good power, big kicking game, hard kicks to the calves. He will drop his hands, but unlike Patterson, he shoulder rolls a lot, which also I'm not a big fan of, but it's better than not moving your head at all. I am also worried about his durability. He's been hurt in a bunch of fights. He likes to get takedowns, but he isn't very good at it. But he did show solid takedown defense against Billy Goff. He's a submission threat. He has 3 subs on his record. I'm not high on either guy. I think they're kind of very similar. I'm going to go with the upset. I'll go Waters because he's of the two, he's more defensively sound. I definitely think Patterson has the higher upside of these two, but I still want to see more defense on them. So I say they both throw down. I say they both land bigger shots. I see Patterson lands the cleaner shot. I'm gonna say Patterson puts him out. Waters. I'm sorry. I'm saying Waters puts Patterson out. Give me Waters by first round TKO.
I like the pick. I wish I could follow you there. The thing that prevents me from doing so, well, it's
because Waters isn't good. Is that what it is?
Well, if that's all it was, then I might as well at least flip a coin because, like you say, neither of them is great, but Patterson in particular is a little better than I gave him credit for. The thing that's concerning about Waters is that he keeps going a full year in between fights, and it tends to be due to injuries. So I don't know what he's going to look like when he gets back. If the golf,
he should go longer away from fights, like really long, like from now until eternity.
Now until your next vacation, at least. Like, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
If the golf fight were 4 months ago, I'd feel more comfortable taking the upset, but I just feel as though two fighters with some similar tools, some similar deficiencies, but I have a better handle on what Patterson's going to look like in the cage on Saturday. With Waters, that's just one more question mark hanging over his head. I'm going to go with Patterson here to win the decision. And for what it's worth, I mean, you mentioned that the Tavares versus Bryczek fight might be a little bit of a slog. This one should be a hell of a lot of fun for however long it lasts.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Considering that Patterson has recently been a 3-minute man, I think this one's over in the first round as well, but I'm going to go chalk here. I'm going to say Patterson. I'm going to go with the club and sub. He has 2 of them in his last 3 fights. I'm going to say they swing wild in the pocket. Both of them have their heads way in the air. Patterson connects first, maybe guillotines Waters in the middle of a terrible takedown attempt, but I'll take Patterson by first round sub, but would not be surprised in the least if the upset plays out here. Yeah, these are 2 wild dudes. We stay in the welterweight division at UFC Fight Night 258 as Rhys McKee faces off against the debuting Axel Sola. McKee, the 29-year-old Irishman, is 14-6-1 overall. He's 1-4 across 2 separate stints in the UFC. He is 1-2 this time. He debuted in the UFC back in 2020, 2021, had the misfortune of drawing Khamzat Chimaev when we were still just figuring out who that dude was. Lost 2 fights in the UFC quickly, went back to Cage Warriors, won the welterweight title. And since he's been back in the UFC, he's 1-2. But for what it's worth, the 1 win was in his last outing. He faced Daniel Frunza back in April at UFC on ESPN, Emmett versus Murphy, and hammered him into a doctor stoppage between rounds 1 and 2. So he's looking for a second win in a row here. He's going to need to get past Sola to get it. Sola, 27-year-old Frenchman, 10-0-1 overall. This will be his UFC debut, but he is the outgoing Aries FC lightweight champ. The majority of his European career took place on 155 pounds, but as you'll see on weigh-ins day when he walks into the cage, he's a big dude. He's not going to give up much size to most of your UFC welterweights. Odds here, fairly close, but Sola is your slight favorite. He is -130, McKee +110 coming back. I am glad that Rhys McKee finally got a win in the UFC. Like, flat out, I am. Like, because he's a dude that he debuted in the UFC when they were scraping up anybody they could to fill these cards, had a rough draw his first time around, then they bring him back, and the first 2 people they feed him are Ange Losa and Chidi Njokuani. They're trying to kill this man. He finally got a win, and he's almost even money to get a second win here. But the problem for McKee, well, there's a lot of problems for McKee. And it's not to say that they're unsolvable. He is still just 29 years old, but his nickname is Skeletor. Like, if you name yourself Skeletor, or your teammates name you Skeletor and you don't do anything about it, that acknowledges certain things about your physique and your game. He's 6'1". He has fought at 155 as well. He was lanky and thin at 155. He's a little meatier at 170, but still, one of his primary problems is he's just not very physically strong. Getting blitzed by Hamza Chimaev is whatever. Chimaev's going to do that to a lot of people before it's all said and done. But he also got soundly out-wrestled by my professor, Alex Morono, in his next UFC fight. That's not a good sign. Like, I know that Alex Morono knows how to wrestle very well because I take lessons from him. But between being able to teach that and being able to do that on most UFC welterweights, there is a gap. That was not a good look for McKee. Then against Losene and Jokwani, he got the kind of fights that he would need stylistically if he's going to get wins in the UFC. You know, like mid to out kickboxing fights, and just he got outstruck by bigger, sharper hitters. Like Axel Sola isn't much, but he's a hard hitter who throws good volume. I think he's going to chew McKee up. And this fight is low enough level that I'm pretty confident Solo's gonna wreck McKee. And I might even be willing to put down money that ends up being Solo's last win in the UFC. I
Spence lock of the night. He'll never win again.
Neither of these guys ever. No. For what it's worth, I almost hope Sola stays at 170 no matter what. But I think Sola probably knocks McKee out here. I think both guys will land. Sola isn't that sound defensively, but he has more power per shot. He's at least as durable. And McKee looked pretty mean in his last fight, but generally speaking, Sola's just, I hate going for these intangible Dana White Tuesday night words, but he just seems like a little more of a killer. Give me Sola by second round TKO here. The jury is still very much out, for me at least, on whether he's UFC material for 12 to 18 months from now, but I feel pretty good about him getting the win here. I've got Sola by second round TKO.
Yeah. Speaking of wrestling and wrestling coaches, did you see my man Bo Nickel picking up the big win on Real American Wrestling? First wrestling match in over 3 years. Came back, took on multi-time All-American Jacob Cardenas, getting a win for my man Bo.
Outstanding.
Also, speaking of Skeletors, did I ever tell you the time I almost died because of Skeletor?
No, what happened?
Oh, yeah. When I was like, I don't know, like a toddler or something. My dumbass mom thought it was a good idea to let her toddler like play at the beach with his like He-Man toys. And of course I'm playing and I put my Skeletor down and I'm probably playing with He-Man and She-Ra or something. And the water brought Skeletor out to sea, and my dumbass started following him, trying to get him back. And I was like a toddler and I couldn't swim and I almost drowned. There you go. That was my Skeletor story.
Come on, Marshall, and you should at least have gotten a Merman, because Merman could have swum back to shore on his own.
Like, damn, Mom, come on. And maybe she was, I don't know. I was like her third kid. Maybe she was trying to have that happen. And there's too many people.
Trying to thin the herd a little bit.
Yeah, too many other people at the beach were like, your kid's drowning. Yeah, this fight. McKee, he's a really poor athlete. He is, he's a big, long, lengthy guy. He tries to be technical. He works behind a good jab. Got some nice snapping shots. He follows some big looping punches. He throws big combinations. He throws some hard calf kicks, but he'll throw those kicks without a setup. He's a builder. He gets stronger as the fight goes on. Unfortunately for him, a lot of times the fight ain't going that deep because he's getting his ass whooped. He is good from range, but he gets sucked into a brawl, which isn't a good plan for him. His defense is bad. He stands tall. He doesn't move his head. He moves it straight back instead of side to side. He is open to the body because also, like, when you put your head straight back and you don't move your feet with it, your body's wide open. He doesn't like being pressured. He wants to wrestle, but he's not very good at it. He'll shoot without a setup. He's a bad defensive wrestler. He was taken down, like you said, by Alex Moreno. He's also taken down by Jim Wallhead. He's like 100 years old. He does have 3 subs on his record, and he has cardio to go deep in the fight. Alex Sola, he's southpaw, nice jab. I'd say okay power. Maybe going to change a weight class and maybe that'll help. Hard calf kicks, not much of an offensive wrestler. If he's on top, he's got good ground and pound though. Weak defensive wrestler. But if taken down, he's been inconsistent. Like I've seen one fight where he gets taken down, he gets back to his feet quickly. Then also once he struggles. So I'm not really sure. I'm not that high on Sola either, but I'm still taking him here. Sure, he's beat up lower level guys, but he's kind of trashed some of them. I think he's faster than McKee. I think he gets the better exchanges. But honestly, his name is Axel. And my favorite band all time is Guns N' Roses. Like, I ain't betting against Axel. Give me Sola by second round TKO.
Next up at UFC Paris is the only heavyweight fight of the night, unless Shauna Bannon is pregnant again and not telling us. It is Marcin Tybura versus the debuting Ante Delija.
The last couple of weeks, my wife's been everywhere I went.
Okay.
Just saying. We never went to New Jersey.
No. Tybura, the 39-year-old from Poland, 27-9 overall, 14-8 in the UFC. He's on a 2-fight win streak since getting thrashed in his rematch with Sergey Spivak just about a year ago. He has back-to-back wins over Jonata Janiz and Mick Parkin. The most recent of those, the Parkin fight, was at UFC Fight Night Edwards versus Brady back in March. So he's looking for his third straight win, looking to show that even as he pushes 40, and he will be 40 in a couple of months, he's still very much a factor in the heavyweight top 10 or 12. Delija looking to prove that he belongs there in the first place. Longtime standout outside the UFC. 35-year-old from Croatia is 25-6 overall. Like I said, this will be his UFC debut, but he was a PFL heavyweight finalist in 2021. He was the PFL heavyweight champ in 2022. And after the PFL Bellator merger, he was right in line for a title shot. He was supposed to fight, not Nemkov, his teammate, Valentin Moldavsky. He fought Moldavsky, and then he was supposed to fight Nemkov at heavyweight. He withdrew from that fight. I am not dead certain whether it was because of an injury or just because he's another one of the fighters who grew really dissatisfied with PFL after the merger. But for whatever reasons, his last fight in PFL was almost 18 months ago. He requested and received his release. The UFC said, "We're not ready for you yet. You need to prove yourself." And so this April, he went to Slovenia and he fought Southern New England zone Jorgen De Castro. After that 41-second knockout, Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard were like, very well, you may now enter the octagon. This will be his...
Nothing says you're ready for the UFC like beating Jorgen De Castro.
Yes. So it will be his introduction to the octagon. It will not be his introduction to Tybura. These two fought each other already, and as luck would have it, almost exactly 10 years ago. September 30th, 2015, they fought in M1 Global, and I think it was for it wasn't for the title. But it was at least, a title implications fight. It was over in like 2 minutes because Delija broke his right shin on a checked kick. It's gruesome. The footage is out there, but yeah, he kicked Tybura. Tybura checked the kick. Delija went down like a big Croatian Anderson Silva, like lower leg flopping. Luckily, it was Marcin Tybura, so Delija didn't take too many more punches before the ref got there. But yeah, that fight, even if it had happened a year ago, wouldn't tell us much about these two. This is yet another near pick'em on this card, Keith. Your favorite is -115. Your underdog is available even money plus 100. Who are they?
Tybura is the favorite.
It is actually Delija. Ante Delija, right. -115. Or, he's running around those low hundreds.
Yeah, he did just beat Jorgen De Castro. So.
He did just beat Jorgen De Castro. That's where the push is coming from. They're like, man, Delija in the last 2 years has beaten Maurice Green and Jorgen De Castro. He's ready for Marcin Tybura. That's exactly what they're thinking here. I've wronged Marcin Tybura on this show. If you've been watching this show for the 4+ years that we've been doing it, we've previewed a lot of Marcin Tybura fights. But I used to make the joke that not only did KSW not want him, but Poland won't even let him back there because he's like the least violent Polish fighter ever. I've come around on that. It's not that. There's a real simple question. Can you wrestle? If you can wrestle and you want to sprawl and brawl Marcin Tybura, you're probably going to do okay. If you can't wrestle, Marcin Tybura is going to sit on your chest and punch you until something bad happens. Like that's pretty much what it is. Like his record bears that out over like the past 13 or 15 fights. like what's his name? Sergey Spivak beat him on the ground and beat him on the ground quickly. But one, Spivak is even more of an example of this dynamic than Tybura is, and two, Spivak might have wanted to prove something. But other than that, yeah, generally speaking, people that can stay standing and hit Tybura in the face a couple times hard have done well. Everyone else has done poorly. Like, and the problem and the thing that makes this fight a little hard to pick, and the thing that probably makes the line so close, is that I'm not sure where Delija falls on that continuum. I know that left to his own devices, Delija would prefer to sprawl and brawl Tybura. Like I'm sure he would prefer to have a fight with him on the feet and just piece him up. You know, I don't know if he can stay up against him. I'm leaning towards a slight upset here, though. Like, Delia's been on the shelf a lot. Jokes about the Yorgan De Castro thing aside, when that's one of two fights you've had in like the last 30 months, that's not great. Like, I feel more comfortable that I'm going to know what 39-year-old Marcin Tybura looks like in the cage on Saturday than Ante Delija, who's almost 5 years younger, but just has not been fighting decent competition in just way too long. I think this is probably a close fight, but I think Tybura ends up winning going away. I could see Delija giving him some trouble early, like just catching him on the feet. Like, Tybura tries to be fundamentally sound, but he's got slow hands and he gets clipped a lot. Luckily for him, he's very durable. I think he's going to need it in this fight. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Tybura loses the first round, but give me Tybura to just crowd Delija, drape his 258 pounds all over him against the fence, start dragging him to the ground. Tybura, once he gets people down, it's like watching some Animal Planet video of a python swallowing a goat where they have to do the time lapse because it takes 2.5 hours for it to eat this thing. But there's never any question that the goat's going to escape. We'll get a little bit of that in the second and third rounds here. Whatever his faults may be and however old he may be, Tybura still has the gas to fight 3 rounds of a Marcin Tybura fight with no problems at all. I think he has to do that here. Give me Tybura to win 2 rounds out of 3 and to be clearly the fresher guy and the guy in control by the end of the fight.
Yeah, this fight, man, I am not interested in this fight. Like this feels like a fight that would be headline on PFL. Like Tybura would be in the tournament and they'd talk it all up like it was some huge fight. And
they'd get like they'd get Francis Ngannou on Zoom because he didn't bother to go to the arena and like have him pretend he cares about the fight.
Yeah, the winning would get Francis Ngannou, the biggest heavyweight battle of all time. Tybura, he's well rounded. Yeah, you know, he's never been a heavy hitter for heavyweight standards, but he does have, I don't want to say high output, but he has like steady output for heavyweight. He's constantly kind of moving forward, forcing his opponent onto his back foot. He loves that like front kick. He wants to be the one pressing the action. He hates being pressured back himself. He's fairly quick hands for a heavyweight. He does follow his boxing into the clinch that's where he really loves to do his work, grind in the clinch. He loves grabbing an underhook and just pressing his opponent against the cage. He's really just about tying down his opponent. He'll drop down in a single and run the pipe, get a takedown. He'll catch a kick if you throw one from the outside, kind of just try to bull rush you to the ground. Good top game. He's a BJJ black belt. He's got 8 subs on his record, but he was subbed by Sergey Spivak pretty quick and pretty slick. Delija, he's got really good experience for someone who's making his UFC debut. This doesn't feel like your traditional guy making his UFC debut. You mentioned that he broke his leg against Tybura in the first fight. He's also a massive heavyweight, long and lanky, nice long distance jab. He throws a big overhand right. He throws a lot of uppercuts inside. He's got good power. He can wrestle. He's very physically strong. He'll grab a leg, kind of just drop down a leg and pick up and slam his opponent. From the outside, I don't think it's a good idea to shoot on Tybura from the outside, but he also will shoot without a setup, which is concerning. If he gets to fight the ground, he's got a good ground pound, and he's also a good submission artist. He has 7 subs on his record, but he will chase a submission and lose position. Trying to take him down, can Tybura take him down? He does have some solid takedown defense. I'm not really high on either guy anymore. I flip-flopped on this one. I could see Tybura kicking Delia's legs a lot, just kind of moving and kicking. I don't think he'll be able to grind in the clinch as much as he's been successful against other guys. I think he'll try. I don't know if he'll be as successful. I think Delija actually has the power advantage. And he actually might be even I don't know if he's a better wrestler, but I don't know who has the advantage of the wrestling, I should say. I'm not really sure. I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth. I understand why this is a close betting line. I'm going to say the power of Delija gives him a close decision win. I'm going to say in his UFC debut, he gets himself right in probably the UFC rankings. Give me Delija by split decision.
Up next at UFC Paris, this might be the top prelim. It might be the main card opener. Card is still kind of in flux. Either way, pretty good fight. It's Oumar C versus Brendson Ribeiro at light heavyweight. C, the 29-year-old Frenchman, is 11-1 overall, 2-1 since joining the UFC out of KSW, Octagon, Aries, several top-level European promotions. That's the good news. The bad news is that one loss took place in his last fight. He fought most recently back in June at UFC on ESPN, Usman versus Buckley, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Alonzo Menefield. That blunted the momentum of his wins over George Tokos and Dawoon Jung to open his UFC run. So he's looking to get back in the win column here. He will need to get past Ribeiro in order to do it. Ribeiro, 29 also, 29-year-old Brazilian, 17-8 with 1 no contest overall, 2-3 since joining the UFC out of season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. He is coming in off a loss. He fought most recently at UFC 316 back in June, where he got knocked out in the first round by Azamat Murzakanov. That snapped a 2-fight win streak for him, so he'll be looking to start another. He is not favored to get it done, as Oumar C is the biggest favorite on the entire UFC Paris card, minus 425, Brendson Ribeiro plus 325 coming back. I don't agree with the line being as wide as it is, but I do get why. Well, for one thing, and I think I said this ahead of his fight with Murzakanov, Ribeiro, by the eyeball test, when you watch him actually fight in the octagon, he's better than his 2-3 record in the promotion would suggest. But they've matched him rough. Zhang Mingyang turns out to kind of be the real deal. It's starting to look like. He lost to Johnny Walker, but he also almost beat Johnny Walker. And if he did, he'd be in the UFC's top 10 right now. Then he had to fight Azamat Murzakanov a couple months ago. I wasn't sure how much I liked Oumar C. I like him now. Even after the loss to Menefield, he didn't lose that much ground for me. It's tough to beat Alonzo Menefield in a pure striking battle. He's an excellent kickboxer who's very experienced, tons of experience in the UFC. That's a fight that maybe C wins easily 2 years from now, for all we know.
I don't know if I'd go with excellent, but okay. You're in a good mood, I guess.
Yeah. I'm in a good mood. It's been a couple of weeks. Here, I think both these guys are going to want the same basic kind of fight. I just think it suits C better. He's a little bigger. I think he's a better athlete. Even though they're both good athletes, they both hit hard, but I think C is probably a little more defensively sound. I think these guys are both going to get the exact kind of fight they want, but C's going to find Ribeiro's chin sooner or later, possibly sooner, and Ribeiro's not going to be able to come back from it. I do think it's kind of as simple as that, and I haven't seen much out of Brendson Ribeiro that makes me think that, one, he'd be willing to spot that stylistic mismatch, and two, make any adjustments based on it. I think he's going to come out and fight a Brendson Ribeiro fight. This might end up looking a bit like the Zhang Mingyang fight, honestly. C is another big striker, only he's even bigger and maybe a little better than Zhang Mingyang. Give me C by knockout late in the first round, but this one will be a real fun one for however long it lasts.
Yeah, I'll go with C to win this fight. I disagree on the line just because of the power of Ribeiro, someone like that. it's hard to be that big of an underdog because he was the guy that had a lot of hype coming in before the Menifeld fight. Obviously, he lost a lot of buzz, but he's a good athlete, he's fairly well-rounded. He's got some good footwork. He cuts angles well. I'd say he's a good boxer. He does need to improve his output. He throws straight shots down the pike. He does have good power in both of his hands, big kicking game, though he will throw some kicks without a setup. He's a good wrestler. He did take Menifeld down. He likes to wrestle a lot. He's a very good grappler, some slick back tags. He has submissions ready. He has 4 subs on his record. If he ends up on top, he lands hard ground and pound. He's a bad defensive wrestler, though. I'm surprised how that he gives up takedowns. He also gassed a little, especially against Dong Unjong. I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. Ribeiro, well-rounded. Obviously, he's at that 81-inch reach that we're going to talk about. He wants to work from distance. When he's pressing the action, he follows his opponents. He struggles to kind of cut off the cage. Very unorthodox style of his striking, very wild. He needs to improve his output. He tends to load up and try to land the perfect strike on every blow. The thing is he's so big and long, he can land from, a mile away. He has a bit of brawler when he gets inside, when he should be a point fighter from distance. He'll throw a lot of looping punches. He has really big power, though. I mean, he has 9 TKOs. He knocked out Mirzakhanov. He mixes punches and kicks together well. He's got a great high kick. He's got some good teep kicks, good calf kick. He is heavy on his front foot, so he's open to leg kicks himself. He also keeps his chin high in the air. He's been knocked out in the past. He will wrestle, but he isn't great at it. I don't expect him to out-wrestle C. If he gets on top, obviously he's huge. Always has that like Johnny Walker type Derek Lewis, where they're just so huge guys that they can grind a pound because, the force that they can bring down is incredible. He's got 6 subs on his record, but he's a weak defensive wrestler. He also makes it worse because he'll jump guillotine, and if he's put on his back, he struggles to get back up. He's also gassed out a little bit in the past, but his cardio looked better against Cal Machado, so I think this is a really good fight. Like, you asked me what fight was I most interested in. I said Fakhretdinov versus Gustafsson. This is the one that I'm actually a little higher. I think both guys have some upside. Obviously, C, I think, is a guy that's a little more special, so I'm taking him. His stock dropped more to me. I don't think he looked good against Menifeld, but I think I kind of generally agree with your overall statement. Like, I still think he will prove that he was what we projected he was in the past, that he's one of the top contenders in the division. I expect him to close the distance. I expect him to get Ribeiro down. I think he's going to take him down. I think he's going to beat him up. I think eventually he's going to get a stoppage with ground and pound. I'll say C by 3rd round, ground and pound stoppage.
Up next at UFC Fight Night 258. And again, this one might be a top prelim. It might be the main card opener. We'll see. Either way, it's a good one. It is William Gomis welcoming Robert Ruchala to the UFC at featherweight. Gomis, the 28-year-old Frenchman, 14-3 overall, 4-1 in the UFC. He started his UFC run with 4 straight wins over increasingly stern opposition before running into Haider Emil back in March at UFC Fight Night Kopp versus Almabayev. He dropped a split decision to Emil, so he takes a step back, needs to reclaim his place as one of the more impressive young prospects in that division, and he'll need to get past Ruchala in order to do that. Ruchala from Poland, just 27 years old. I was a little surprised by that. He's 11-1 overall. As I said, this will be his UFC debut, but he is the outgoing, or he's a former KSW featherweight champ. He fought most recently back in November. It was at the big KSW 100 like bash, like one of the big stadium shows. But anyway, he got a 3rd round TKO on the ground. He elected to kind of wait things out and come to the UFC, where he gets a pretty stern test in his very first outing in the form of Gomis. And that is probably reflected in the line, which has Gomis at -230, Ruchala plus 180 coming back. Keith, I'm going to flip this one to you first, but I'm going to say something first, and I have no idea whether you're going to agree, respectfully disagree, or tell me I'm insane, but
I think you're insane.
Well, okay, but specifically for this, if you gave me $100 and said,
okay, first of all, I've never given anybody $100. So let's just get that. I'm cheap.
If
All
a
right, no, yeah.
if a
Somebody else
theoretic
gave you
person,
$100. Somebody else gave you
somebody gave me
$100.
$100 and said you have to put this down on a futures bet on a French fighter to win a UFC title.
Okay.
I'm probably putting it on either William Gomis or Oumar Sy.
Yeah, I'd have to like think who else is on my options. I mean, you got Cyril gone.
You got
Cyril Gane would get
Sanctini
like
and Imavov. Yeah,
I could see I could see Gane getting like an interim title one day because they just keep giving him title shots. Imavov and who else you say?
Benoit Saint-Denis is in the co-main event.
Oh yeah, definitely not Saint-Denis.
And it's because of the division as much as anything.
Yeah, and Imavov. I mean, maybe I go with Imavov just because he's how close he is. I understand what you're saying with Gomis. Like the possibilities there.
Yeah, I mean, the one I wish it would be Morgan Charrier, but I'm not putting any money on that.
Oh, no.
Just Gomis with his physical tools, the way he's been improving just in his time in the octagon,
Sure.
how young he is. I'd plunk down that $100 on that future, even though right now I wouldn't favor him against any of the top 5. I'm just saying as an investment in the future. Anyway, I mean, tell me what you think of this one and who gets it done on Saturday.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a weird fight. Like Gomis on this run, I'm surprised he's kind of put in this fight similar. I mean, we'll get to the Pitbull fight. That's a really weird one, but not to that matchup. But Gomis, I like what you said. He's a southpaw. He's on the feet. He needs more output. He's a little bit of a low output striker, but he's good. Like he's a good kickboxer. He does hang his hands low. He kind of uses it to counter strike. He has quick hands. There's really straight shots down the pike. Has good power. Big kicking game. He uses his length well with those teep kicks. He'll throw some spinning attacks. He isn't a wrestler, but he can sneak in some takedowns, especially like a reactionary takedown. If he's pressured too much, someone trying to close the distance on him, he's got a very good top game. He showed good takedown defense against Francis Marshall in their fight. He needs to improve his get-up game, though, if he gets taken down. And, I mean, Joey Anderson Brito, I think, is a really good fighter. He showed good submission defense against Joey Anderson Brito. So there's a lot of things I like. Ruchala, former KSW champion, so you like that coming in. Someone that kind of pedigree coming in the UFC. He switches stance a lot, unorthodox striker, kind of a like herky-jerky style, a little wild. He likes spinning attacks, uses a lot of feints, a lot of kicks. He'll kind of just flick kicks out there so easily. He will throw them, but sometimes he'll throw them without a setup. He likes space. He doesn't want to be pressured back. He got some defensive issue. He keeps his chin too high in the air. He pulls his head straight back. He will look for takedowns, but no setup on his entries. He's got 3 subs on his record. He's a weak defensive wrestler. Usually we like KSW champions. I think he was only an interim champion. But I'm not that impressed with Ruchala. Like, I don't think he's that good. I think Gomis is way more technical, more polished. I think he picks him apart from range. I think when Charlotte crashes the pocket, I think Gomis is going to land takedowns. I think Gomis kind of cruises. Give me Gomis in a pretty easy decision. What was the odds in this fight, you said?
Gomis is minus 230.
Oh, okay. If it was closer, I would have locked it, but I don't want to lock something that big. But yeah, Gomis is my decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with your assessment of Gomis, but yeah, at 28 and just barely 28, the things that are quote unquote wrong with his game are ones that I could see working themselves out over the next couple of years. Like I could see that Hyder Emil fight being one where he takes stuff back to the drawing board. Just, I mean, you mentioned that one of his big issues at this point is that he doesn't throw enough volume. Hyder Emil does not have that issue, and that's what at least one of the rounds in that fight really hinged on. Was like neither guy really hurt the other that badly, but Emil's coming forward, forcing the issue, like out throwing him 2-1 and in a real close round. That was enough. Yeah, I like his physical tools. I like how well-rounded he is at this point. Good, good wrestling, especially in transition, heavy top game. I mean, for a fighter from the part of the world he's from, I like Ruchala being in the UFC. He is a very KSW fighter. He's even younger than Gomis, and this is going to sound like a double standard, but even though he's like a year younger, he's just 27. He has been the same wild man for so long. Like he was doing this wild man shit in KSW or smaller Polish promotions when he was like 20. He may just be who he is. you mentioned he likes space. He's a tall, long-limbed featherweight. He likes space because he likes to throw spinning stuff. Honestly, that was his one brief flirtation with glory when he fought Saladin Parnasse like 2 years ago. He hit Parnasse with his gorgeous like spinning back, dropped him. I
think he was more off balanced. Like he was kind of backing away from the spinning attack.
Yeah.
But okay, yeah.
But it was enough to
got the crowd
round.
excited.
Crowd went nuts. But Parnasse, well, for one thing, Parnasse is one of the best fighters in that weight range outside the UFC right now. But he's just better everywhere, and he came back quickly, really started to put it on Ruchala and wrecked him by the end. I think the skills disparity between these two is going to be similar here. Like Gomis and Parnasse are not the same fighter, but like the gap in skills where Gomis is arguably better everywhere is going to be similar. The difference here will be that Gomis only has 3 rounds to work with, and Gomis just doesn't step on the gas as hard as Saladin Parnasse does. So my long way around to saying I'm picking it the same way you are. Gomis wins this pretty easily, and unless Ruchala nails him with something wild and hilarious, there won't even be much suspense about it. I got Gomis by decision as well. We stay in the featherweight division at UFC Fight Night 258 as Patricio Pitbull Freire welcomes Losene Keita to the UFC. Pitbull, the 38-year-old Brazilian, is 37-8 overall. He is now 1-1 since joining the UFC kind of at the beginning of this year as Bellator's greatest ever homegrown talent, and for much of the last 8 or 10 years, arguably the best fighter outside the UFC at any weight. However you assess that, since he's been in the UFC this year, he has a unanimous decision loss to Yair Rodriguez in his debut back in April, and then a unanimous decision win over Dan Ige in his sophomore appearance back in July at UFC 318. So, Pitbull, you know what? I normally say what these fighters are looking to do. I don't know what Pitbull's looking to do. I don't know if he's looking to cash a few more checks before he swings off into the sunset. I don't know if he's looking to make a last-minute run at the title. I have no idea, but I'm almost certain he's looking to get a win on Saturday, and it's going to have to come against Losene Keita, who is the new exciting signing by the UFC in this division. 27-year-old Belgian. I believe he's originally from the Congo, but been fighting out of Belgium forever. He is 16-1 overall. He is a former Octagon featherweight champ. He fought most recently back in December, getting a second round TKO of Ronald Paredes. I'll say right out, Keita's favored to win this fight. He's -200, Pitbull +170. Adding a bit of interest to this is the fact that this fight is taking place at featherweight. Losene Keita is the former Octagon featherweight champ, but he vacated that title over a year ago, and his last 3 fights have all been at 155 pounds. When you see him on the scale at the ceremonial weigh-ins, when you see him in the cage on Saturday, that'll make sense to you. He's a muscular dude. At any rate, so that adds a little bit of intrigue. The fight before the fight is going to be to see how comfortably Keita can make his old weight limit ahead of his UFC debut. But yeah, Keita -200, Pitbull +170. Keith, I'm real excited to have Losene Keita in the UFC. I end up following KSW and Cage Warriors and Octagon at least on a surface level, just because I do all the video production for Sherdog, so I end up producing all of Sean Sheehan's European stuff. But if somebody had asked me to,
never heard of it. Yeah. I've heard Sean Sheehan, but this Europe place, I've never heard of that place.
It's this little island. Yeah. If you'd asked me, say, this time last summer, to give me a list of top 5 European regional champs or prospects I'd like to see fighting in North America. I might not have put Keita on the list just because he was so young and had so much upside and was doing so well in Octagon, like packing stadiums. I'm like, that's not realistic. You know, let's try for him again in 3 years. So I'm surprised to see him in the UFC, but I'm excited. I think he's a very good fighter who probably still has room to improve, and he's a generally exciting one. Should be fun times. I mean, let me know what you think of the signing. Let me know what you think of this fight and who you think gets it done.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of buzz in this guy. Would you say he was how big of a favorite of Pitbull?
Minus 200.
Minus 200. I mean, like he's coming into the UFC, and yeah,
a 2-1 favorite to beat someone who just beat Dan Ige.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. And obviously arguably the greatest fighter in Bellator. I mean, I shouldn't say argue. He really is the greatest fighter in Bellator history. Based on basically what they did in Bellator, not other organizations. Yeah. Man, a lot of pressure on the kid, though. I mean, but then on the same sense, I'm like, like I said at the top, I thought it was really weird matchmaking because what does Pitbull gain by winning this? He wins. He beat some guy I never heard of. Like that's what the average UFC fan is gonna say, Mm-hmm. And if he wins, it's a better win than Dan Ige at this point, probably. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm glad that Pitbull got a UFC win. I still think he's past his prime, but he showed that he's still good. Dan Ige still a good win. He's a pressure striker, but his volume has greatly declined. He was gun shy against Yair Rodriguez. It was better against Dan Ige. Obviously, it was a lot of grappling in that fight, but something that I'd like to see a little bit more. I think he lost some hand speed, but he can still crack. He can end a fight with a strike with either one of his hands. He still springs forward, throwing some serious power hooks. He's got some thudding kicks. And I said this before the Dan Ige fight, and I said, I hope to see him wrestle Dan Ige. That would be a good avenue of victory, and then he did. I think he's a grossly underrated grappler. I think he's an underrated wrestler. He does good to get to the clinch, get inside trips, but he could also, like we saw against Ige, he could shoot takedowns from the outside. He took Ige down 5 times. Good top game. He has a submission threat. I love his guillotine. He does play BJJ too much when he's on his own back, but he is slick on his back, and we saw that against Rodriguez. He spent a lot of time and still almost like caught a submission off his back. I am worried at his durability. I mean, he's been wars forever. He's the guy who's going up to lightweight before coming. I know most of his career is at featherweight. I don't know if that's a good thing for him at this point of his career. I think he's someone who might be actually better if he moved up, but he's been knocked out a couple of times. He's been he shouldn't have been knocked out, but he's been rocked a bunch of times, and he's taken a lot of damage over there. He's one of these guys that suddenly his chin could completely fall apart, and obviously Keita is the kind of guy that can do that. Now Keita, when you watch this guy, there's a lot of things like, but he's fast, really nice snap on his shots. He attacks with big combinations when he comes in. He springs in, he throws like 4 or 5 punch blows. He has massive power because he really steps into his shots. He loads up on everything. He throws a lot of looping shots, a lot of looping hooks, a lot of overhand rights. He will eat a shot because he stands directly in front of his opponent and just kind of holds his ground and starts swinging wildly. Very like Vanderlei Silva type, like in that where I'm going to swing wildly and I'm going to be faster and hit harder and even like a prime Vanderlei ate a lot of shots. Go back to his last fight. He was dropped in his last fight. I mean, he wasn't the most brutal shot, but he did get clipped and dropped briefly. I like his stepping knees. I like that a lot. He'll throw some spinning attacks. Not much of an offense wrestler. He's a weaker defensive wrestler and weak get-up game. No subs on his record. So as far as prediction goes, I don't understand this line. Obviously, Keita could crush Pitbull with a single blow. I mean, he's got that kind of power. He's that kind of special. And obviously, I think Vegas is also betting on that this isn't Pitbull from 5 years ago. And I think that's fair to say. Like, I think we all agree this isn't Pitbull from 5 years ago. But Pitbull's still a really dangerous fighter for anybody at any time, especially someone making his UFC debut in your home, in that area of the world where you're super popular. And he's coming from KSW, so it's not like he's not used to huge crowds and pressure and everything. But still, I don't care what anybody says. The UFC is still different. I don't care who you are. I could see Pitbull just doing exactly the same thing he did against Dan Ige. I think he could get the fight to the ground, take Keita down, and beat him off the ground. Say what you want about Ige. Pitbull. He's not a dumb fighter. Like he's not. He knows when to take chances. He's had fights where you see him just come out wrestling. I think Keita makes a mistake, and he does these big blows, and Pitbull times him coming in, takes him down. I think he starts getting beat up. I think he gets frustrated. I think he makes a mistake. I'm going to say Pitbull subs him. Give me Pitbull by third round sub. This is my upset of the night. But wait a second. I don't make upset on the night calls. I do locks of the night. So let's do it. I'm locking it in, dude. I'm calling the biggest. I don't know if I ever did a big upset. No, I'm picking a huge upset win, and I'm locking in the night. This is disrespect to put Pitbull this big an upset against a guy. I mean, I know this guy's special and everything, but give me a break. This is still Pitbull. This ain't Patricio. This is Pitbull. I'm locking it in. This is my upset, lock of the night. Bet the house on it. Give me Pitbull.
I like it. We're 2 for 2. I got Pitbull here. And you cut right to the heart of it. Pitbull is not a dumb fighter at all. For the several years there, just he and Alex Volkanovski were just kind of like puttering along in parallel, like these undersized but athletic, extremely well-rounded fighters that just fought extremely smart and brilliantly every time out. He's, even as the physical tools might be eroding a bit, he still has the rest of that. And I agree, this is a weird fight. Like, that doesn't seem to do much for him. I said I had some guesses about that when we were introducing the whole card. There's a couple possibilities. One, Patricio Pitbull is kind of a salty guy and a bit of a loose cannon. He may just have pissed off somebody at the UFC. You know, like Dana White has said, and certainly Joe Silva, I assume, had this on a plaque on his desk. If you don't like the fight I offer you, you're definitely not going to like the next fight I offer you. Like, he may just have to piss somebody off. The other side of it is, he may want to fight like this. He is a supremely confident guy. It's the same thing I said about Aaron Pico ahead of his, UFC debut, where he was going to fight Movsar Evloev, and then he ended up fighting the guy he fought a couple weeks ago.
LaRon Murphy.
Thank you. I could totally see Pitbull like turning down easier fights, or ones with a better risk reward ratio, because however smart he is in the cage, again, just a supremely confident guy outside of it. But Keita's the real deal. I do think at the very least, he's a guy that could stick around for a good while here. I think there's a possibility he's a future contender in one of these divisions, but the matchup of Pitbull's offensive wrestling and top position grappling against Keita's takedown defense is concerning. And then on top of that, you've got Keita fighting in the UFC for the first time and dropping back down to featherweight for the first time in 3 fights, almost a year and a half. All those unknowns push me further and further in the direction of the upset here. I've got the exact same call as you. Pitbull takes down Keita early and often, makes it look surprisingly easy. Keita will absolutely have his moments on the feet. He's fast, he hits super hard, he throws in combination. Pitbull's going to have his work cut out for him, but I think he gets Keita down in at least 2 out of the 3 rounds. And in round 3, when he gets him down, Keita maybe beat up, maybe just tired, maybe sapped by the cut. Pitbull really goes to work, and we get a round 3 tap out. It's unanimous. Light heavyweights are up next at UFC Paris as Modestas Bukauskas faces off against Paul Craig. Bukauskas, the 31-year-old Lithuanian by way of England, is 18-6 overall. He is 6-4 across 2 separate stints in the UFC. 6-4 doesn't sound that great, but worth noting that he is 5-1 since being back this time. He joined the UFC back, about 2020 as the outgoing Cage Warriors light heavyweight champ. Lost 3 in a row and got cut. Went back, won the Cage Warriors title again, got called back to the UFC about 2.5 years ago. Again, since being back, he is 5-1 with the only loss coming to Vitor Petrino. Since the Petrino loss, he has 3 straight wins over Marcin Rafael Cerqueira, and in his most recent outing at UFC 315 back in May, Iwan Kudalaba, over whom he won a split decision. So Bukauskas looking to pick up his 4th straight win, go 6-1 since being re-signed to the UFC, and against all appearances 5 years ago, maybe become a ranked fighter in this division and start cruising towards bigger and better things. He's going to have to get past Craig in order to do so, though. Craig, 37-year-old Scot, 17-9-1 with 1 no contest overall. He is an even 9-9-1 in the UFC with 1 no contest. That 1 no contest was in his most recent outing where he hit Rodolfo Bellato with an illegal up kick back in June. The fight ended up being declared a no contest. That's almost good news for Craig because that at least snapped a 3-fight losing streak for him. I mean, that fight aside, he's lost 5 of his last 6, so it's an exact mirror of Bukauskas' recent run. But yeah, Craig's ship has been taking on water for a couple of years now. He steps back into the cage here looking for his first win since July of 2023. He is not favored to get it, as Bukauskas is the 2nd biggest favorite on the card. He is minus 350, Craig plus 280. Keith, I won't say someday I'll tell my kids because my kids are all adults and a lot of them already watch MMA. I might have grandkids in the next couple of years. One day I will take my grandkids on my knee and say, in the early 2020s, there was a fighter in the UFC named Paul Craig. He was this huge Scottish guy that would paint his face like William Wallace at weigh-ins.
Yeah.
But he also had Beach Boys lyrics tattooed on his chest and he pulled guard in half of his fights. It was a crazy time to be a fan.
One of the Beach Boys might be able to beat him right now.
I think Mike Love is about 84 years old, but as long as he doesn't get caught in the triangle, Mike Love, unanimous decision.
I don't know, the Beach Boy, the one guy that used to let Charles Manson and his crew stay with him, that guy might be able to take him.
Well, Brian Wilson passed away, so short of a seance, we're not getting that one. But
have you seen his claws? Probably still has better striking.
Oh man, the fun is over for Paul Craig. The end is nigh. I always thought that he might have one of those games that would remain sneaky effective into his 40s, just because he's always been a poor athlete. If you're an old-time fan of the show, probably the first one-liner that ever came out of either of us that made me laugh out loud, to the point that I still remember it like 4+ years later, was when Keith asked, do you think Paul Craig can dunk a basketball? Full stop. This professional athlete in the highest organization in the world for his sport, who's like 6'4", can he dunk a basketball? Like that. And the answer was no then, and it's probably no
I don't think he can dribble a basketball.
Yeah. Dude, he lives in Scotland. He might not be able to find a basketball. Dude,
yeah. Speaking of basketball, real quick, I went camping this weekend. It was not like a campground. It wasn't on like the Great Woods, but it was like a pickup basketball game. It started with me and my son shooting hoops together, and then 2 other kids asked to join, and then all of a sudden turned into a basketball game. But it was a campground. It was no 3-year-old kid. I'm dribbling off the court, going by a kid and give it to the 3-year-old, shoot it,
Oh, okay.
All of a sudden there was this teenager. He was probably 15. They just did not get the setting of we're dribbling up and I'm handing the ball to a 3-year-old, or the kid might have a 3, but he's kindergarten age. Shoot it. The kid's throwing it up between his legs, can't reach the hoop kind of thing. And then there's this kid, he's getting the rebound and going past my son and fast breaking and shit. One point he goes around his back and I'm what is this kid doing? And so finally I'm all right, fuck this kid. And he came around and he went to do a layup and I freaking swatted him the Kemba Mutombo and knocked the ball.
No.
Yeah, knocked the ball into the pool area. And then I was all right, dude, relax. You're freaking 43 years old. Let the teenager think he's cool before you freaking pull your Achilles or some shit.
And then an hour later, Tony Ferguson walked by and the exact same thing happened. Tony just started playing way too hard with the 5. Could you just see? It's okay to laugh again because he won a boxing match over the weekend. So
Tony Ferguson just walks up to the basketball hoop, starts kicking the pole for some reason.
Yeah. So yeah, Craig's game has not aged well. He was always a terrible striker and obviously a good submission artist who was also a terrible wrestler. So it always ran on his opponent either getting tired or making a mistake. And it usually ran on Craig himself having to take a lot of punishment on the way there. And all those windows of opportunity have just closed. One, most of his opponents are wise to him now. And two, he can't take the punishment. The people that can box Craig up in the first round now are just finishing him. There was a time 2 years ago, whatever the line was, this would have had Craig upsets Bukauskas written all over it. But the thing is, Bukauskas has always been a little younger than I thought he was. I've always been surprised anytime we preview one of his fights, like, oh gosh, he's still only 29. Oh, he's back in the UFC. He's not even 30 yet. Again, he's still just 31 now, which at light heavyweight means he's got another solid 5 to 8 years if his health holds up. But he's actually fixed some of the holes in his game. When he arrived in the UFC, he was a guy that wanted a distance kickboxing match by preference and simply didn't have the footwork, the native athleticism, or the physical strength to force it. Like, he couldn't stay away from people that just wanted to either crowd the pocket and not let him kick and just mug him inside, or that wanted to take him down. And he just, for a big guy that looks like a fighter from a movie, just didn't seem very physically strong for the division. A lot of those things have been fixed. Part of his success since he's been back has been down to level of competition. Just Tyson Pedro, Zach Pauga, not great. But you know what? His last 3 wins, Marcin Prachnio, Rafael Cerqueira, and Iwan Cutelaba, none of them are terrible fighters. And even though Cutelaba is, like, honestly, his split decision win over Iwan Cutelaba made me think a lot more highly of Bukauskas, because that's exactly the kind of fight that Bukauskas would have lost badly a couple of years ago. Like, Iwan Cutelaba has some of the worst fight IQ in the worst fight IQ division in the UFC. But one thing he absolutely is never known to do is just sit patiently outside and let a Modestas Bukauskas type like calf kick him and jab him from outside. He always runs forward. He always swings haymakers, and he always tries to get his hands on the other guy, to run him to the cage and dump him on the ground. That's what Iwan Cutelaba does. And Bukauskas stayed upright and stayed in his preferred range at least enough to get what for him was honestly a very tough stylistic matchup. I don't know why I'm still talking about this, because Paul Craig isn't going to do any of those things. And unfortunately, I don't think he's going to do much of anything. 2 or 3 years ago, I was saying that Craig's striking was improving. You always disagreed with me, and it turns out that even if I was right, even if I won the battle, you won the war, because Craig's striking is back and worse than ever. He's going to be stuck. Whether this is a long fight or a short fight is really just going to be down to how hard Paul Craig feels like running into the wood chipper. Because I don't think he can run down Bukauskas. And if he catches Bukauskas, I think Bukauskas now has enough confidence and enough just physical diesel to just do the crow cop, get double underhooks, and shuck you off thing and go back to kicking your legs. This is going to be a brutal mismatch. I think it's going to look more lopsided than the one fight on the card that actually has a wider line. Give me Bukauskas by second round knockout, and I think he wins every minute of the fight up until then.
Yeah. I refuse to do it. I refuse to break down Paul Craig fights anymore. Dude, Bukauskas could beat his ass. Give Bukauskas to knock him out in like the first round. I'm done with Paul Craig. Yeah. Sorry, just for time's sake, let's just move on.
If you're really dying for that trademark Keith Schillen breakdown of skills, just go to the Fight Finder, look at any Paul Craig fight in the last 5 years, click on the preview for it. The scouting report has not changed much. All the changes is our haircuts and like the lighting in the background.
There was somebody, I like the guy, and I get his thing. I get his thing. He's a news guy. He's an MMA news guy, so he always wants to be like positive and get to be good with every manager. And like, I get it, dude. And he posted once like, "Oh, Paul Craig re-signed with the UFC on a 4-fight contract. I'm so excited to have him back." And I'm like, I just respond like, why? He's not good. His fights suck. he brings nothing other than he paints his face cool. Like for that 5 second the stare down at some weigh-in is like what is worth having to watch the most terrible boring ass fights for 15 minutes or him get knocked out. Like, why? he's like, well, in fairness, he fought this, like, yeah, but he could have took the worst guys in the division. He went. Is there anybody that, honestly, is there anybody in the UFC light heavyweight division you'd take Paul Craig over right now? No, me neither.
No, not even like if Eor Patterson is still around or something, like not even that. No,
I think Patterson
like, yeah, Patterson can punch. Yeah, like no, and I still don't believe you just talked about like Adam Martin and James Lynch that way, and Nolan King and like.
Okay.
Actually, no, Nolan might not have. Like
it wasn't Nolan, though. Nolan would not. I love Nolan to death. Nolan will not put his very strong opinion.
It was
on Twitter. Nolan will do the debate shows. He'll do the debate shows. I give him that. And Nolan's my boy. Nolan's good. I like James and I like Adam, both of them. I'm not saying it's one of those guys, but it was like, come on, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, are they both Canadian?
James definitely is.
I think Adam's Canadian too.
Yeah, well, you know what it's like to be with a Canadian. They're nice people.
Yeah, it's like they're part of their nature. They have to be nice. Like even to Paul Craig.
Even to Paul Craig. Like one of them is holding a door for Paul Craig someplace right now, just in case like he's 10 miles behind him. Next up at UFC Paris is a lightweight matchup between Bolaji Oki and Mason Jones. Oki, the 29-year-old Belgian, is 10-2 overall. He is 2-1 since joining the UFC out of season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. He lost almost exactly a year ago to Chris Duncan by first round submission, technical submission. He got guillotined all the way to sleep. He bounced back from that in May with a unanimous decision over Houston's finest, Michael Aswell. So he's looking to put his first UFC loss further in the rearview mirror at the expense of Jones. Jones, 30-year-old Welshman, is 16-2 with 1 no contest overall. He is 2-2 with 1 no contest across 2 separate stints with the UFC. UFC cards got a lot of people on it that have bounced back and forth between Cage Warriors and the UFC. Anyway, since being back this time, the former lightweight and welterweight champ in Cage Warriors is 1-0 with his unanimous decision win over Jeremy Stevens back in May. And yes, that's May of 2025. So both of these gentlemen looking for their second win this calendar year. Your favorite is -150, underdog +120. Who are they, Keith?
I'll say Jones is the favorite.
You are correct. Jones is the favorite. And that is one that I would have guessed wrong because I was a little surprised at the lines. Tell me how you see this fight. Who you think wins?
Well, in fairness, Ben, when we talk about betting lines, I mean, trying to compete with me on guessing betting lines, I'm at like 25% or something. Like, watch out.
You're better than Yanni the Greek. Yeah.
Oh, don't take that back. That's blasphemy. Jones, I mean, I think it's a really fun fight. This is the one. Either one of these guys could be contenders winning. No, I don't see them like that. But I think this is gonna be a fun action fight. I am intrigued how it's going to go down. Jones is he's a pressure counter striker, high volume. He's a good boxer. He keeps everything tight. Nice jab. Good at slipping and ripping. He's good at slipping past a punch, getting in the pocket, and then unloading like a big combination. He loves a brawl. I'd say his plus power, nice kicks. I am worried about his durability. I mean, he eats a lot of shots. Go back to like the Ludwig Klein fight. I mean, that's a really good striker, but Klein blasted him. He's a good wrestler. He's got some quick entries, mean ground and pound. He has 3 submission wins. But if he's put on his own back, he will struggle to get back to his feet, and we saw that against Klein again. Oki also is a counter striker. He works best from distance. He still pressures well himself. Good volume on the feet, quick hands, nice jab, those straight shots on the pike. He attacks with combinations. He's got a really good left hook. I love that he goes to the body. That's something I think he should go to do against Jones. He's got really good power. He's got a good high kick. Not an offensive wrestler at all, but he's a bad defensive wrestler. And he got caught in submission against Chris Duncan. I think Jones could win this fight if he sticks to a game plan, but because he has this reckless abandon style, I can see him getting clipped coming in, eating a big shot from Oki. But he should still have a huge advantage on the ground, and if he can force, close the distance and force Oki to kind of have to even defending the takedowns is better than having standing at distance striking with Oki. I'm going to say Jones does it. I'm going to say he gets inside, he lands some big shots, he gets the takedown, starts battering on top. Give me Jones by decision.
Yeah, like I said, I was a little surprised that I thought the line would be close, but I was surprised that Jones was the favorite. And there are some clear avenues to victory for him, but you kind of circled around it that he loves getting in brawls enough that I am concerned about him necessarily fighting to his best advantage. Because just standing and swinging it out with Bolaji is probably the worst possible approach he could take to this fight. But he's going to do it, at least for the first 3 minutes of the first round. That might be all that Oki needs. I mean, he's not Alex Pereira out there, and he doesn't throw enough volume a lot of the time, but he's a sharp, accurate striker with good power everywhere. I'm going to lean towards Jones in the decision here as well, but I think this will be maybe closer and a more enjoyable fight than it needs to be. And in both cases, maybe because of Jones spending a little too much time testing his luck on the feet. But far be it from me to want him to make this into a boring fight. So yeah, Jones by decision, not a ton of confidence in it from me. That brings us to the co-main event of UFC Fight Night 258, a lightweight matchup between native Frenchman Benoit Saint-Denis and Brazil's Mauricio Hufy. Saint-Denis, the 29-year-old, 14-3 with one no contest overall, 6-2 in the UFC, and worth noting that, 6-3 in the UFC, 6-2 at lightweight. He made his debut in the UFC on short notice, up a weight class, got absolutely chewed up by Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos. It was everybody's beat down of the year. The ref caught a lot of flack for not stopping the fight. But Saint-Denis survived and exceeded the modest expectations of that poor debut. And like I say, he's fought his way into contention. He lost both of his fights last year against Dustin Poirier at UFC 299, and then against Renato Moicano in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 243 in September. But he bounced back with a second round submission of Kyle Prepolek at UFC 315, and that was enough to get him another fight with top 10 implications in the form of Hufy. The Brazilian, also 29 years old, 12-1 overall, a perfect 3-0 since joining the UFC out of season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. He debuted last May, knocking out Jamie Malarkey in the first round. Since then, he has wins over James Yontop, and in his most recent outing, Bobby Green, whom he iced with a spinning wheel kick back in March at UFC 313. It was a sensational highlight reel moment at just the right time and in just the right place. And he's a member of just the right team to kind of cut the line a little bit at 155. Because of that, these are two gentlemen that are fighting in a fight with top 10 implications in a division where normally some people have had to put in a lot more work than this before getting there. Which is not to say that they don't deserve it, just that it's interesting to see it play out that way. The line is not close. Mauricio Hufy minus 200, Benoit Saint-Denis plus 170. The funny thing about Benoit Saint-Denis is, once we got past the Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos fight, where it's like we could barely learn anything about this guy because after the first 2 minutes of the fight, all he did was just get absolutely brutalized. But since then, once we discovered, okay, no, this guy at 155 is actually a very, very good fighter and a very exciting fighter, I don't feel as though much has changed about him. He is an athletic, aggressive guy, pretty good size for the weight class, with the full arsenal of offensive tools. He's a very good offensive striker, tons of power, throws well in combination, and he's a very comfortable grappler as well. even in his losses to Poirier and Moicano, I don't feel as though either of them exposed some unknown weakness about the guy. It's just like Benoit Saint-Denis at age 29 is who he is. People like Poirier, who's a top 3 fighter, or Moicano, who's, you know, somewhere between a number 8 and number 12 fighter, can beat him. Nobody else can. And against everyone else, he makes it look really, really nasty. So I feel as though that's kind of like who Benoit Saint-Denis is. When I said earlier on the show that if I have to plunk down $100 on any French fighter to eventually win a UFC title, it might be William Gomis or Oumar Sy. It's because I feel, even though all 3 are around the same age, I think I've seen Benoit Saint-Denis' ceiling. Whereas with someone like Gomis, in his losses, I've seen stuff that, you know, I bet he's going to get better from this. So with Benoit Saint-Denis, it really is down to matchups a lot of the time. It's easy to forget that he was beating Dustin Poirier until he got caught. Like, he was doing really well. Like, I was, obviously we recapped that show afterwards, and around into that fight, I'm like, oh man, we're going to have this depressing conversation about, is Dustin Poirier completely shot? Should we be calling for him to retire? Like, what would be some winnable fights? And then all of a sudden he lamps Saint-Denis, and he's like laughing and talking about how he's never going to stop jumping the gill. He's like, oh, great. We love you. But anyway, Mauricio Houfi is not, he's not the guy that Benoit Saint-Denis' game is going to work on. He can, like, Saint-Denis' best avenues to victory in this fight would involve getting Mauricio Houfi onto the ground. And it's not like Mauricio it's not like he's a slouch on the ground. It's not like Stephen Thompson or like Dwayne Ludwig or something, where there's this like magic key to just beating him easily if you can take him down. Like, he's a good grappler too, just he's a deadly striker. But yeah, this is going to be a fantastic firefight. But as hard-hitting and accurate as they both are, Mauricio Houfi is probably a little harder hitting, a little more accurate, and more importantly, for purposes of this fight, he's a little more defensively sound, and I think he's more durable. And that makes the whole difference to me in this fight. Like, if this fight plays out like I think it will, we're going to have a great first round where Mauricio Houfi probably starting to pull ahead a little bit, and this thing is over about 3 minutes into the second round in some just like vicious knockout. But even if it plays out exactly like I'm predicting it, I'm not going to think any less of Benoit Saint-Denis afterwards. He is who we thought he was. A guy that's going to stick around the top 10 for a while. But hell, we could even call him kind of the new Dustin Poirier. He's going to occupy that slot in some ways. Whereas we still don't know whether Mauricio Houfi is a future UFC champ. But yeah, my pick is Houfi by second round TKO. But I'm really looking forward to this fight. And I wouldn't hate being wrong about it. Like, yeah, good fight.
Yeah, I would say that they hate Saint-Denis after some of the beatings he's gotten, but then they give him Kyle Prepelec, so it's like, all right, so he's got better treatment than some people have had. This is a fun fight. Saint-Denis, he's a southpaw. He's got some good footwork, good output on the feet. He marches forward, kind of trying to force his opponent back on their back foot. He's got some fast hands. He throws a lot of rear, like leading with his power punches, like his rear right hand. Actually, in his case, it would be his left hand. He's explosive. He's got big power. He's got a lot of kicks. He's got a great high kick. Go back to like the Matt Frivola, perfectly timed a high kick as he was trying to escape, which was beautiful. That was obviously the best moment probably of his career. He eats a lot of shots, though. He keeps his chin too high. He doesn't move his head. We've said this before. He's probably the toughest son of a bitch alive. Go back all the way back to like the Dos Santos fight where he was beat the shit out of. Go to Moicano. Moicano beat the shit out of him. Poirier obviously knocks him out. He likes to close the distance and battle in the clinch. He's a very physically strong guy. He's got the judo background. He wrestles a lot of upper body takedowns. He can shoot takedowns from from the outside. He's a very good grappler, except when he's put on the bottom because he struggled to get off the bottom against Moicano. He does have 10 subs on his record. He will jump for a sub instead of trying to stuff a takedown, which is dangerous. He was swept by Matt Favola when he was taken down. I'm sorry, backwards. He swept Matt Favola, which was when Favola took him down. His ground and pound against Thiago Moises was brutal, and he's got a good submission defense. Rufy, I was thinking about this as we have two fight nerds on the card. I'm like, we should have a debate one day is who's the best fighter, in the fight nerds, because it's probably like 5 different options, and Rufy obviously is one of them. So I mean that obviously is a compliment. You could be first or you could be fifth, and it's still a hell of an accomplishment with that team. He's super athletic. He's a sensational striker. He switches stances a lot. He has this like bladed karate style stance. He has fast hands. He's accurate. He sets up his shots well with feints. He also likes to hand fight the lead hand, which I'm a big fan of. It helps you like measure your shots. He uses feints well, and then he kind of pulls them into his power. And he pulls them into the power, and he does a step back right hand, which is definitely his best weapon. Good at timing his opponent's attacks and beating him at the point of contact. He throws his right hand right over his opponent's left hand's lead strike. He has some fun spinning attacks. Obviously, he has that incredible spinning wheel kick KO Bobby Green. He had big power, big kicking game, throws hard kicks to the body, got a great high kick. He'll be a little wild with it. Like he'll put himself in a bad position to try and be exciting. He does move his head well, which is good. But he needs it because he kind of keeps his hands wide and low. He does need to tuck his chin a little bit more. He is open to leg kicks. He has a wide stance. He's not much of an offensive wrestler. He's not really much of a defensive wrestler. And he doesn't really have any subs on his record. I think the line could be closer because I could see, in his home country, Saint Denis coming out, wrestling Rufy, getting takedown, especially if Rufy like does some spinning thing where suddenly as he does that, Saint Denis got his back and taking him down. I just think the issue is going to be the striking from the distance, and I think Rufy's going to be too fast, too accurate. I expect Rufy to land hard and land a lot. I want to get the spectacular knockout, but Saint Denis is so freaking tough. I say he survives, but I think we see Saint Denis get his like ass whooped again. I think he takes a like really bad beating one more time. Give me Rufy by lopsided decision.
And hey, you may be able to do some extra thinking on that. Who's the best fighter from that camp? Because they're supposed to be opening up a location in your neck of the woods. In fact, it is Mauricio Hufi that said he was going to open Fight Nerds location in New Hampshire.
That's not my neck of the woods. It's like
you could be in New Hampshire before I could be halfway to Dallas.
It's there's a whole state in between Rhode Island and New Hampshire.
There are several counties in between me and San Antonio, but you don't hear me complaining.
There you go.
Go to New Hampshire and see the man. I don't know if anything came of it, but ahead of his fight in March, he was saying that he was going to open up. Yeah. With that, we come to the main event of UFC Paris, a high-level middleweight contenders fight between Nasruddin Imavov and Caio Borralho. Imavov, the 30-year-old Frenchman, is 16-4 with 1 no contest overall. He is 8-2 with 1 no contest in the UFC, and he is on a 4-fight win streak since that single no contest. Last time he did not have his hand raised after a night of work in the octagon was a little over 2 years ago when he and Chris Curtis clashed heads for about the 15th time in their fight. The outcome of that fight was plain enough that they never even bothered remaking it. They basically booked Imavov as if he'd won. Since then, he has wins over Roman Dolidze, Jared Cannonier, Brendan Allen, and in his most recent outing, back in February, Israel Adesanya, whom he knocked out early in the second round in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 250. So Imavov, again, has followed up the Curtis fight with 4 straight pretty impressive wins over fighters ranging from the top 15 to the top 5. Here he steps in to headline a card in his native country against another high-level contender, and one that, as we said off the top, could easily justify a title shot for him in his next fight, depending on what else plays out in the division. The only thing standing between him and being perhaps the most accomplished French mixed martial artist of all time is Caio Borralho. 32-year-old Brazilian is 17-1 with 1 no contest overall. He is 7-0 since joining the UFC out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought twice on the Contender Series that fall, like 3 weeks apart. Not sure why. He looked great both times, but at any rate, since he's been in the UFC, a perfect 7-0. He fought twice last year, knocking out Paul Craig in May and taking a unanimous decision over Jared Cannonier in August in the headliner of UFC on ESPN 62. It's been almost exactly a year since then, and Bahalio is back in the cage for the first time. The line is a pretty close one here, so I'll quiz you on it, Keith. Your favorite is minus 130, underdog plus 110. Who are they?
Oof. Bahalio's a favorite.
He is. Caio Bahalio, minus 130. Nasruddin Imavov, plus 110. As is always the case when I'm looking at these odds a week out from fight night, and I'm looking at an agglomeration of 8 different sites, there's some range, but Bahalio was not in the plus money anywhere, and Imavov was, so, he's the legit underdog. Keith, I'm going to flip this one to you for your analysis, for your pick. The question I'm going to throw out at you: if you're Imavov's coaches, are you telling your man to try and take Bahalio down and try to keep it standing? Like, if it's clearly one or the other?
Yeah, I don't think it's clear one or the other. I don't know, man.
Which is part of why he's so damn good, isn't it?
But both guys are very well rounded. This is a very tough fight to pick. If I'm Navarro's coach, he's been wrestling so well lately, and if there's going to be grappling, I want to be the top guy. So I would say maybe the wrestle, maybe sneak in some takedowns. I don't know if that's the right answer. Like do that, but I don't know if that's gonna help him win. But also, like, if I was Bio's coach, and I'd probably tell him the same thing. You know what I mean? I if we have grappling exchanges, I want to be the one on top. As far as striking, if I'm Bahalio, I want to be in the pocket, even though he's a huge guy. I just want to get past the kicks of Imavov, and if I'm Imavov, I want to be in the kicking range. I want teep kicks up the middle. I want stuff like that. So, as far as breaking down these guys, there's a reason why I think this is a hard fight to pick, because I like both these guys. I think they're both well rounded. I think Imavov is a really good athlete. He's a long and lengthy middleweight. He's elusive. He moves really well. Good footwork. He's well rounded. He's a good striker. Very relaxed and poised. I'd say he's best like a distance striker. He doesn't want to be pressured. We saw against Sean Strickland. The best way to beat him is just stay under pressure. It's actually one of Strickland's best, other than Izzy, probably one of his best wins.
And he did them both similarly.
He did. I know.
Yeah.
He's a counter striker. His best counters are like his fade back counters if you kind of collapse on him too quickly. He's got quick hands. He attacks with combinations. He's accurate. Nice snap on his shots. He has some power, more power than you think. I mean, he knocked out Jared Cannonier. He knocked out Israel Adesanya. Good teep kicks. He does drop his hands, which is a little bit of an issue. He can wrestle. I mean, you brought up that Chris Curtis fight. He got 3 takedowns against Chris Curtis. He took down Jared Cannonier twice. Both guys, not known for their takedown defense, but they're not Jose Aldo, but they're tough guys to take down, and so getting 5 takedowns against those 2 guys is pretty impressive. But he's committed. He's relentless to get takedowns. He's got good top control, good ground and pound. I mean, go back to like the Ian. I mean, it's always like forever ago, like Ian Heinisch and Edmund Shabazian. He like beat the shit out of those guys, destroyed them on the ground. He's shown solid takedown defense in the past. He's a bit of a submission artist, but he did struggle on the bottom against Brendan Allen when Allen was on top. Maybe that's something you go if you're Bahalio. You can try to wrestle to get on top. Brendan Allen's a very big guy. Bahalio's a very big guy. Maybe that's a little bit. He also gassed out a little bit against Allen, which is maybe another thing you look for. Bahalio's, I mean, he's also, they're very built, very similar. Like not similar. Like Bahalio's I don't think he's a long, lengthy guy too, but he's like thick. He's a thick guy. He's a big middleweight. He's a southpaw, very athletic. He presses forward, marches down his opponent. He was a little too patient against Abus Magomedov, but when there was opening, that's when he had his best moments. He's a counter striker. He's slip and rip guy. Good at slipping shots. He's accurate. He's got a great left hand. He's got a nice follow up right hook. He's got plus power. He's got a good kicking game. He loves flying knees to close the distance. He hits probably too many shots for my liking for an elite level fighter. A guy who's top of the division guy hits a little too much. Needs to clean up his defense. He keeps his chin a little too high sometimes. He's a good offensive wrestler. I would definitely say he's more of a grappler than a wrestler, more like an opportunistic wrestler. In that sense, he's not your traditional blast your hips kind of guy. But he gets to fight the ground. He's good top control, tends to like inch and slowly advance on the ground, not rushing things. He's got some super slick back takes. If he hooks it, it's almost impossible to get those long legs out. Such a good backpacker. He doesn't really rush submissions, though. The one fight he did was against Mahmoud Muradov. That was probably one of his worst performances in the UFC. But he gets on top, crushing ground and pound. He is a big submission artist. He's a weak defensive wrestler. He'll get taken down. And he struggled. Like I said, like Muradov had success when that was such a long time ago. And I think that was one of his worst performances in the UFC, probably the worst performance. He showed great cardio in that fight, though. I mean, he was going hard late in the third round. I think this is a great matchup. I like both guys. The winner could easily jump to the title shot next. If someone gets a stoppage, I think they definitely got to get the title shot next. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're like two guys that are possibilities. Have been great in Anthony Hernandez and René Doretta. Both guys are probably in the contention too. But as far as the outcome of this fight, I've really flip-flopped. I'm going to go with the fight nerds. It's almost impossible to bet against them right now. I've seen people pressure Imavov and win. I expect the nerds to have the same strategy with Bahayo. I say pressure him, get to Imavov. I think Bahayo will land some big shots. I think the later the fight goes, that's when the pressure will really get. I think we get some grappling exchanges. I think Imavov starts to fade. I think Bahayo's pressure starts helping him get takedowns, win scrambles. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to go all five. I'm going to say Bahayo wins a close decision. And main event, co-main event, fight nerds to go 2-0, ruining the plans for the French fighters to go 0-2.
It's Keith is picking a pretty quiet arena at the Accor in Paris on Saturday. Again, as a guy that was in the dead silent Toyota Center after Cyril Gane destroyed Derek Lewis, I hate to see it happen, but I'm actually going the other way on this one. I love this fight. I agree that it's hard to pick for all the same reasons that that you did, Keith. And of all the things that give me pause in picking Imavov to win this one, you kind of hit on the one that worries me the most. Imavov, despite having fought past the third round at any rate, as a guy who probably has more 5-round experience than Bahayo, he's nonetheless the one that we've kind of seen fade late in fights, even fights that weren't 5 rounds. But I'm picking him to have enough rounds banked away to eke out the decision here. I think when they're both fresh and at their best, and if they're both fighting reasonably to their best advantage, I like Imavov's chances a little better. The thing that I keep coming back to is his fight against Delija, which I think was Imavov's first UFC headliner, because Delija definitely wanted to get the fight on the ground, and he's not as good a fighter as Bahayo. He's not quite the athlete Bahayo is, but he's kind of like Bahayo. He's a huge tank of a guy that wanted to come forward on Imavov, crowd him, run him to the fence, drag him to the ground. And for most of the fight, Delija had a hell of a time getting Imavov down. Like, Imavov was just doing stuff like bracing, his forearm against his neck against the fence, shoving him off. It was the first time I'd seen Imavov fight a little less like a finesse fighter and a little more like a guy that realized he was going to have to beat some asses if he ever wanted to get into the title picture. It almost comes down to the thing I asked you at the beginning of this segment, where, you know, if you were his handlers, which way would you go? Because I almost feel like with Imavov, somebody has got this little remote control and there's just a dial that has France at one end and Dagestan at the other. Because always remember, this guy's Dagestani. He was born in Dagestan. And I'm not saying that he's a better fighter when it's at one extreme or the other, but like someone is just kind of like turning that dial and fine tuning it. Like, are you going to be the technical outstriker? Are you going to be the aggressive wrestler with a mean streak against the fence? Give me Imavov and his coaches to hit that balance to the point where maybe he wins the first 2 rounds, or he's up 2-1 at the end of 3, and maybe has to hold on, but wins the decision here in a fantastic main event where neither guy takes much of a step back. I could be wrong. One of these guys could just blow the other out of the water in 3 minutes. If one of them does, it's probably Bukauskas. But give me this to be just a damn good fight night main event, and one where it's good enough and both guys look good enough that we wouldn't complain if they met again for higher stakes a year or 2 from now. Both these guys are still pretty young. But yeah, that's the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 258, Imavov versus Bukauskas, also known as UFC Paris. I've been Ben, he's been Keith. If this is your first time watching or listening to one of our previews, first of all, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. We do our best to bring a mix of in-depth analysis of non-Paul Craig fights and occasional historic or humorous asides that we think is pretty unique in this space. Please do give us a like, subscribe. Neither of those things cost you anything. They make our bosses happy. They allow us to keep bringing you this content free of charge. Please drop us a comment. Keith and I both man the comment section. We'd love to hear your take on these fights, because if you're right and we're wrong, we will happily give you your flowers on the recap. You just have to come collect them. We're live on the Sherdog YouTube page right after the main event. Keith takes the captain's chair. We will talk about all 13 of these fights, from the headliner on down to the opener, going back and forth on what was good, what was bad, what was surprising, what was controversial. There's always something. Talking about what's next for some of the notable winners as well as losers, and talking with you. The live chat is open that whole time, so we are taking your questions, your comments, and your hot takes in real time. We have a growing community of friends that hang out with us after the fights, and we would love for you to be part of it. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and by all means, enjoy these fights.